Happy Friday. How are you all doing? This is your girl Shan. I know you all are in a good mood on today. We talk about that on every Friday. First off, let me go ahead and give a little church announcement. Your girl will not be on all next week. Now, I'm purposing to do, as we talk about and spend time with family and different things like that. So, of course, we got things planned because this is summertime, right? And so I will not be on all next week. I'll make sure I put a sign up because usually what happens is people are inboxing like, hey, are you okay? Are you sick? You didn't do your live this morning, So I'm just going to put that out there. I'll say it again at the end. I will not be on all next week. It'll be a couple of times like that during the summer. And just to kind of remind you all, good morning, Tasha. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, Delisha. But to remind you all that sometime in the fall, I will no longer be doing marriage mornings with the queen. So just want to let you know that as well, because somebody probably missed that on that last announcement. Hey, Cousin Kim. Hey, Kimmy. Okay. So I'm going to get into today's topic, right? Like I said, we always appreciate when you all reach out to us, and you don't have to tell us your business, but hey, what do you think about this? What do y'all think about that? You know what I'm saying? In regards to marriage or family or whatever. We get the questions. And so, to answer the questions. Good morning, Aisha. Now, I'm not going to say that what I say and what my husband say is the gospel truth. We're just giving insight, perspective from a kind of like a personal, definitely a personal and professional, kind of mixed in together. But no, this is not a substitute for professional counseling. So if you need professional counseling, go get you some professional counseling. Have that one-on-one. Don't cheat yourself. This is just golden nuggets. Hey, Wendy. Now, getting into today's topic, which is the age-old question. I kind of spoke to it sometime before, but I never actually did a whole video on it. The age-old question is, should a married person have a best friend of the opposite sex? Should a married person have a best friend of the opposite sex? Age-old question. Now, I've seen so much debate on this, and every time I see this question being asked, I bust out laughing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I want to know, what do y'all think? Drop y'all's comments. Don't wait to see what I think, but what do y'all think? What do y'all feel based off of your personal experiences? What's your mindset on it? Now, I would love to look forward to those comments, but y'all probably not going to drop it to y'all, after y'all see what I say. Most of y'all sitting up there shaking your head. Heck no. Nope, my husband or my wife ain't. But anyway, I'll come at it like this. It is really, I believe, this is just Shan. I believe that it is based off of maturity that you have. And this is where I'm coming from with this, right? If there's going to be something such as having a best friend of the opposite sex, I look at it so many different ways. I look at it so many different ways. But it's based off of maturity. It's based off of boundaries that need to be set and different things like this. Now, I'm going to speak to some stereotypes and some truths. I have heard guys say, well, I don't see if it's a problem me having, a female that's my best friend of the opposite sex. Hey, Miss Delia, a female that's my best friend of the opposite sex. I don't see no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? And so if he got his best friend of the opposite sex, hey, it is what it is. If boundaries and rules are set. However, this is what we got to keep in mind when it comes to marriage. If you decide to do this or not, this is for somebody, so I ain't going to put the person's name out there. But if you decide to do this or not, you have to understand and look at marriage, your marriage. So I'll use this example. The word of God says that you leave and cleave, right? And it's talking about how you leave your mother and your father and you cleave unto your wife. And of course, a lot of people say, well, Shannon, they're talking about the male connotation, Okay. But to say that you leave and you cleave, that's just like my sisters and my brothers and whatever the case may be. When I get married, my husband come first. That's the conversation that I've had. And see, where I see this issue being a lot of problems is because, yes, you may have a best friend of the opposite sex, but you don't put your spouse first. Okay? It's kind of weird. Some do. Now keep rolling with me. I'm going to make sense, hopefully, in a minute. So say, God forbid, something happened between me and my spouse, right? Me and my husband, God forbid. Something happened between me and my husband. If we were to get a divorce, my family is and should still be there for me. They should still be there for me no matter what. Boom, 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 nothing should change because you still my blood. Notice I say should. Some family nowadays don't get down like that. And so that's the same thing when it comes to having a friend of the opposite sex. Now, I think some of y'all share with y'all might not remember this. Have I been down this road? Yes, I have, but not with my husband. With the boyfriend that I had right before I married my husband, he had his best friend that was a female. I used to talk to her on the phone. At that time, I was stationed in Germany. And he's like, yeah, this is like my sister, da, 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 da. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I wasn't tripping. I was 19 years old. I ain't even had no issues with it or whatever. And like I think I shared, maybe I didn't get too in depth. However, let me just use this as an example because it's a real life example for me. So this was my plan. I had my son. And I had my boyfriend. Well, my boyfriend lived up north. My son lived in the Midwest. So I had 30 days of leave. Anybody military, you know what I'm talking about. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go spend 2 weeks with my son, celebrate, his birthday and all this kind of stuff like that. And then I'm going to go spend 2 weeks with my boyfriend. I'm going to fly up there. Then I'm going to fly back to Germany. Well, right before I got to, get on the plane and stuff like that, I was about to get on the plane and stuff. That's when he called me and, he was telling me about his best friend being pregnant. Long story short, the baby was his. Okay. And so back then, my 19-year-old self could have cursed him out. I could have acted a whole fool. But what I actually did, and I was proud of myself, is I encouraged him because I know what it felt like to be a single mom and, not have the dad there at the appointments and all those things like that. So I was like, you know what? You make sure you be there for her. I spoke to him. Hey, Miss Kathy, I spoke to him and I encouraged him. You be there for that young lady. You be there for your baby. There is probably nothing like you being there for when your baby is born and da 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 da. And he was on the phone speechless. Like, what? Like, this ain't what I expected you. I didn't cry, I didn't act a fool. Now I was hurt, but I hung up and boom, I was good to go. The reason why I said it takes maturity is because of this. And y'all have seen, I'm sure, so many situations to where the person, let's say if it's a male and he has a female best friend, and there are some situations where the female, she started to feel some kind of way. I don't know where that came from. But then you have other situations where it's completely platonic. The male look at his female best friend like his sister. You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. He looks like, he look at her like, hey, this is her brother or whatever the case may be. And in your mind, there is no thought. To me, that's just like my husband have a male best friend. I have a female best friend. I look at the male best friend like a brother, like one of my biological brothers. I would not ever cross that line. Just the thought makes me want to get sick this morning. But that's why I say the maturity come in at. You know what I'm saying? However, let me speak to this. If you are married, you go into a marriage, you say, I do. And say your husband, let's just say my husband, I had a good male friend or whatever. My husband had an issue with it. And it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, no, he just had an issue with it. That was my homeboy. That's the person when something would go down, I pick up the phone. I talk to him. We chat for a long time, just like I do with my best friend that's a female. That was my homeboy. My husband had an issue with it. It hurt my feelings like, man, I ain't even thinking about him like that. But okay. And guess what I did? With my husband sitting right there, I got on the phone. I called him up. Hey, bro, da-da-da-da. I'm married now. My husband have an issue with it. I hope you can understand. And he said, out of respect for your marriage, I understand. And we had no further communication since then. And so we have to keep in mind this. Your marriage comes first. So you do not ever want to go to battle or have to fight your spouse over somebody else that is outside your marriage. We've been contacted about people having issues with their in-laws. People having issues with in-laws, brothers and sisters, mama and daddy. People having issue with grown adult children who think that they should be put before the wife. Because say in this situation, the person may have been married and then the kids grow up and then, they get a divorce from that wife. They marry a second wife. And the kids think they should be first over the wife. See, all of this is called boundaries. Okay? Boundaries need to be set. So let's say my husband did have a female best friend. Some of my boundaries maybe this. Look, I know that's your homegirl and everything, but please don't tell her nothing about what goes on inside of our marriage. Because it's a 50-50 chance. You never know. When you sitting up here giving somebody all the information, and this can happen elsewhere, you giving them all the information. Yeah, I can't stand when I come home. She always on the phone. She always doing this and da-da-da-da-da. You feeding that person. If this is your 50-50, remember, you feeding that person all the information so they know what you like, what you don't like, this, that, and other. That could be the same. Somebody just said it. I feel like I heard you in the spirit. That could be the same if I'm talking to my best friend. And I'm telling her, yeah, you know, whatever the case may be, my husband like this and this and this and this and da-da-da-da-da. It's some boundaries that need to be set up in there. Say my best friend was ratchet and then she tried to get with my husband after we got a divorce. That happens, okay? That happens. It's a 50-50 situation. At the end of the day, number one, it depends on who you have in the best friend. Because I know my best friend I done had since I was 5 years old and I'm 41. So that's a whole adult person. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on who you have in the best friend. Number two is boundaries that need to be set. Just like anything else. And so somebody right now is arguing with your husband or your wife over somebody that you're not married to. That's an issue. That's what I'm talking about. That's an issue. It shouldn't ever be so. If your spouse have an issue with a certain individual, it could be your female best friend, your male best friend, it could be your mama, your daddy, your sister, your brother, it could be somebody down at the church, somebody on the job, then baby, you as a married individual should honor and respect your spouse unless, well, I can't even say unless, because that's your spouse. You chose to marry them. You know, if your spouse is the one that trips over every little thing, you the one said I do to him. You know, I didn't, you did, you know. So if they got an issue, you should listen to them. You should not argue with them over somebody that you should never in your marriage argue over somebody that you're not married to. Boom. Just like that. If your husband or your wife have an issue, hey, Lisa, then it should be done. What are we even arguing about and wasting our time and our precious minutes for that we could never get back in our life? It should be done. But we don't choose to do that. We set up and choose to have an attitude and we argue with our spouse about it. Really? Why? So my answer is this. If you're mature enough to handle that type of situation, then go for it. Me personally, I probably would have an issue if my husband had, you know, a female best friend. It's just me, unless she was mature. Unless she, you know what I'm saying? If he truly thought of her as a sister. But what I wouldn't do, me, Shan, I'm not going to punish my husband if he had a female best friend for what that guy did before I married my husband. If it's straightly platonic, it's mature, you know, hey, my kid's calling her auntie or, you know, calling him uncle or whatever the case may be. But this is the thing. As husbands and wives, if you, let's say husband, have a wife, have a best friend that's a woman. And let's say that your wife had a guy that she started to become real good friends with, on the sense like a brother, whatever, you can't trip, homie. You can't trip, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. That's what they used to say back in the day. I still don't really know what that means. So maybe somebody can break that down for me. But you can't trip. And see, this is where the problem and the issue comes along in marriage. And I'm not trying to start no issues in nobody's marriage. This is where the problem and the issue comes along. When one, the husband or the wife, good morning, Celista, can do something because, hey, I'm not going to trip if that's what my husband want to do, whatever the case may be. And it's cool. But then when the spouse starts to do it, it becomes a problem. Then that's when it's a problem in your marriage. So this is what I would have you ask yourself if you married and you want to avoid all this, right? If you're in a situation that your spouse does not care for, then I need you to ask yourself, just examine yourself and think about it. If the shoe was on the other foot, how would I feel about this situation? If I wasn't in a situation and my wife was, or I wasn't in a situation and my husband was, how would I feel if the shoe was on the other foot? Oh, I get mad. If you get mad, then that means you need to cut it out. You need to cut it out because it's hindering and impacting your marriage in a negative way. You see what I'm saying? And so we have to use wisdom when it comes to our marriage. If you don't have a problem with me having a male best friend, you trust me as your wife, you know I ain't going to cross no type of boundaries. I'm not going to be telling it, because one thing I know about a man, just by observing, one thing I know about a man, especially a husband, If he's a husband, he don't want nobody else outside of him, his marriage, to know that he messing up. Women, oh, we'll say it in a heartbeat. Oh yeah, I messed up. I sure did. But a man, because of their pride, don't want nobody outside of their marriage to know that they mess up. So wife, you sit up here, you tell your best friend who is another man, yeah, our bills got cut off again. Yeah, because he ain't getting up and he ain't going to work and this and this and that, or he's skipping out, or he got a gambling problem, or he done started smoking and selling weed, trying to get into this weed industry, and things are out of whack. He ain't taking care of his business at home. Baby, let me tell you, I guarantee you, your husband gonna get mad because a man don't want another man know that they not handling their business at home. If you think I'm lying, thinking about it when it comes to sex. A man don't want another man knowing that they not handling their business in the bedroom. Sorry if you're eating your Cheerios on this morning, but you know I'm going to keep it real because this is what I do. That is going to be an issue. So for the sake of your marriage, number one, don't even argue with it. If your spouse come to you and you know you got a spouse that holds you down, like I always say, that got your back and everything like that. If your spouse come to you and share their heart with you and say, baby, I don't know how to say this to you or whatever, but you know, I got a problem. And it's not where that spouse is digging in at you, trying to make you feel less than, but I got a problem. You know, it kind of irritates me that when you get on the phone with your best friend, you feel like you can't never talk to your best friend in front of me and I'm your wife. Like, what secrets are you telling your best friend where you can't talk in front of me? Oh, baby, I'm just used to doing that. That's how we was, you know, before. No, because if you was sitting in the living room of your apartment or your house before we got married, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. So what is it? Or baby, I got an issue. You got these grown children, but every time you get on the phone with them, who's supposed to be my children too, because I'm married into it. Every time you get on the phone with them, you always go sit out in the garage and talk, or you always go sit in the car. What is it that you're saying to them that you can't say in front of me? Is it that you don't trust me? What is it? See, people don't understand little things like that causes division. And so if your spouse is coming to you and they speak in their heart, and they're not trying to take a dig at you, because see, some little tacky, petty spouses, you be trying to take a dig when you so-called speaking your heart. You trying to take a dig at your spouse and making them feel less than and whatever. But if you know you have a bona fide spouse that's amazing and they come to you and they share, this is my heart with you, I got an issue with this. Number one, examine yourself. Before you start cussing, fussing, and acting a whole fool, examine yourself, okay? And ask yourself, if I was in this situation, if it was me in it, how would I feel? Process on that. Don't just instantly come and then you arguing and cussing and fussing. Process on that. How would I feel? Oh, shoot, I'd be mad. Oh, it ain't no way that would happen. Well, if that's how you feel, cut it off. You see what I'm saying? But see, what we don't tend to do a lot of times in marriage is we don't sit up and put ourselves in that place. We don't put ourselves in that situation and think about how we may feel if the shoe was on the other foot. We don't do that. What we do is we come all guns a-blazing and we arguing with our spouse over somebody that we are not married to. And you just want your spouse to understand because they said I do. That's tacky and the devil is a lie, okay? So put yourself in that situation. If you got anger towards your spouse that's still built up, go to the Lord in prayer and pray about it. God, you got to help me about this thing because I don't see where I'm wrong. Even though I'm mad when I put myself in this situation, I want to go off on my spouse, but God, help me with this. Take you some time and pray on that situation. And if it's still God is saying, Michael, the archangel, down to say you are wrong, cut it out. At the end of the day, it's not worth losing your husband or your wife, who is amazing man and woman of God, that God has blessed you with, all because your pride won't let you honor and respect your marriage. Okay? So I don't care who it is, best friend, sister, mama, daddy, brother, your grown adult kids that you put over your spouse. I don't care who it is. Cut it out. Good morning, Chandra. Cut it out if it's an issue for your marriage. Because see, what the goal is in marriage is for you to stay married. Not for you to be arguing over every person that you are not married to. Okay? Your spouse is not always tripping. Good morning, Alex. How you doing, sir? Your spouse is not always tripping. So I hope this helps somebody on today. At the end of the day, if you feel you mature enough to handle it, then boom. If you feel it's the issue, if the shoe was on the other foot, then baby, I tell you, go ahead and Next nine, that is, we used to say, go ahead and get rid of that, because it's not worth losing your husband or your wife, your soulmate, the individual that God has blessed you with. It is not worth it for you to lose it, because at the end of the day, if that person was quote unquote still your best friend and things don't work out with you and your spouse, then they should still be standing with you at the end, just like your family should. Because if they your best friend, you see them kind of like his blood, right? They should still be holding you down. So, one last thing, I'm out. I promise. For my single people, man, when it comes to this topic, man, you can have an opinion, no disrespect. But the main ones that I see, I don't see why it's a problem. I don't see why it's a problem. It's the main one that, number one, you ain't in marriage the first. It's generally females. You ain't in marriage the first, and you ain't got a man. So that's why you don't see that it's a problem. But if you was in a whole marriage and this and this and this, you getting out angry. She just insecure. He just insecure. Man, shut it up. Like, that's the main ones that I see where you get all hyped and huffed up about it. But if it's not an issue, you don't have an issue, then hey, that shows maturity level that y'all can handle it. I'm not saying that people who have an issue with it are immature. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is each individual marriage is different. Each individual circumstance is different. Just like I was played by the ex-boyfriend before I married my husband, and he ended up getting his best friend who was a female pregnant and all this other kind of stuff like that. I could have carried that on in my marriage, and I could have punished my husband for it, but I didn't do it because my husband didn't hurt me. The last guy did. And see, that's a problem too. A lot of us carry past hurts into our marriage because somebody else hurt you, not your spouse. So you're not giving your spouse fair, clean slate off the bat. Okay? So your girl Shan won't be on next week. I'm taking a break. From time to time, I'm going to do this during the summer. I will put a little out of office up for the week so people won't be wondering, is she sick? Where's she at? And stuff like that. And I just want to say happy Father's Day. The Marriage Mondays with the Kings, we will be on next Monday. We decided to go ahead and do the show even though it's Father's Day weekend. So happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there in the coffee crew. Thank you so much for what you do, holding your family down, being an example for your children and everything like that. Hope and pray that you have a most relaxing Father's Day weekend. Your girl Shan gonna be back with y'all not next week, but the week after that, because your girl need a break. Okay? So y'all have a blessed weekend. Don't let anybody steal your joy. Share this because it's free. Be a blessing to somebody today and not a curse. Please feel free to drop your comments because I do go back and respond to each and every one as time permit. And let me know what you think about the subject, your experiences. Maybe you see it as a problem, maybe you don't. And it's not so much for me, but you will help someone else who may be, going through this situation. So we have to be helpers one to another. I'm not the expert. We are helpers one to another based off of our experience. So y'all have a blessed weekend. God bless you and blessings to you.